Matt Stone and Trey Parker are here. They are the creators of the hit animated television series South Park, set in their home state of Colorado. This year, for the first time, South Park won an Emmy for an episode called Best Friends Forever. Here is a look at part of that program. The two creators at this table for the very first time. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, tell me what it is that, tell me what that represents.
Mostly just a good frickin' Jew joke. Yeah. We're really proud of that part of that show.
Did somebody once say to you, there's nothing off base, but you can make no jokes about the Nation of Islam?
They told us we
tried to say that, and then we did it.
Yeah. They told us we couldn't do an entire show about it, but I think they were just concerned about our safety.
Yeah.
So, yeah, someday we'll do it, though. I don't know.
Yeah. But nothing else is out of bounds.
No, and like that episode was the one, it was basically obviously in reference to Terry Schiavo, and it came out the week that was hitting this like huge national furor. But I think that like that episode was one of our better ones because we always seem to do topical stuff best when we, in other words, like when we do it with our own characters. Like that episode never mentioned the word Terry Schiavo. Right. And if you'd never heard about that whole uproar or didn't, it didn't matter. You'd still get it. It still was a regular, it was a story about a boy who was being kept alive on a
How did
feeding
this thing
tube.
come into being?
Well, it's actually pretty amazing because the way we've always done the show, but now after doing it for 9 years, we've got it down to the art form of, the show airs on Wednesday. The Thursday before that, Matt and I go to work early in the morning with the writers and we go, okay, what do we do this week? I mean, it's a weekly, it's just like Saturday Night Live, basically. Like, we don't know what we're doing. Start over every week, don't plan ahead at all. And we all sat down and I remember it was when her tube had been removed and everyone was waiting around to see if she was going to die. And I was just like, guys, I've never seen a bigger news story. Like, this is on every channel and it's just insane, and so it was just early in the morning on Thursday, and we said, how can we do a Terry Schiavo episode? And then the ideas start flying, and by around noon, we start getting ideas. And the way it works is that we come up with a couple funny scenes, we put them into animation right away because we got to get the crew going. And then Friday, we work on it some more. We work on it Saturday and Sunday. By Sunday, Monday, we're staying up all night, and we just about kill ourselves week after week.
Now, do you two do the same thing, or do you divide up responsibility some way?
It changes week to week, but it's pretty much, we have it pretty much down. I mean, we're both in the writer's room. Right. We come up with the ideas. We both do voices. Trey directs and pretty much edits every episode. I mean, it's very concentrated in around the two of us, so it's like we can do a very tight production.
Yeah. But, and everything is in one building, so it's great because on a Tuesday night, say, even before the show, we always deliver the show Wednesday morning, and that it's going to air. And on Tuesday night, we're always there at 3 in the morning going, oh, how can we change the end, rewrite it, animate it, run in, do the voices, put it in, and the whole process.
Yeah, we do the voices out of necessity, not because we think we're great voiceover artists.
It's only because we can't
I think it's pretty obvious that all the voices start to sound the same after a while.
What was the operative idea, though? Was it there's no cartoon out there that's edgy enough, that really is satirical enough, that really hits it on the head?
Originally, we didn't have that. I mean, that's way too. I mean, originally we were just two guys from Colorado who didn't realize you're not supposed to say these words on television. We just thought that was funny, and we
were fans of Beavis and Butthead and The Simpsons, and we just thought we just really loved that, and we were huge fans of Terry Gilliam, from Monty Python, and that animation where it's just so base, and like that was really, I think, a lot of people when they start out, we weren't thinking about it too much. We were just thinking, how can we go to Hollywood and make a lot of money?
And then it happened.
Yeah, and then it worked. So,
so what are you doing with all the money?
Oh, lots of things, boy. It's a pretty good time.
It's one big party.
Yeah, well, it was.
It's how we slowed down.
Yeah, we're slowing down.
Now we're old now.
I mean, but like there's only so many times you can do certain things.
That's true.
Exactly, and it's like it's a curse and a blessing because now we won an Emmy. Yeah. Now we're on Charlie Rose. Yeah. It is like, how do you stay punk rock? How do you stay edgy? How do you how are you the guys giving the middle finger to the world?
We like edgy here.
Yeah. Charlie Rose is a super edgy show. Don't get me wrong, but it's like it is a constant battle. We're not the only ones who fight. Like a lot of artists fight.
We have the finance minister of India here. That's edgy.
That's punk rock. That's definitely punk rock.
It's totally punk rock. So it's something that I'd rather have the money than not, and the success than not. But it does create a mental kind of game where you have to convince yourself constantly that we're at the bottom, we're still hungry, we still want to, make people mad.
But I mean, people always talk about burnout. I mean, I don't see that. I mean, if you love what you're doing, I don't see where burnout plays a role. What does play a role is what, for example, John Cheese once said to me about Faulty Towers.
Right.
He said we just had no more ideas.
Right.
We found ourselves duplicating ourselves, and that's when we stopped.
Yeah. I think and that's always the fear, and actually we've started the last 3 seasons. At the beginning of the season, every time I've been like, oh man, because we sat there in the writer's room trying to come up with stuff and we're out. And I was like, we're out. We're completely out. And then as the season would go, we're like, okay, this Terry Schiavo thing, what could we do about that? And end up with a great show, and then the next week, it just sort of keeps ramping up. And we just kept feeling like the seasons were actually getting better. And as long as that was happening, it's not fun to do. And you know what? South Park was never fun to do. It's hard work, and what
it's not fun to do.
It's really not fun to do. But what the kids always want to hear, we go on MTV and the kids always want to hear is, we just get drunk and we get high and we party and we come up with stuff, and it's like that's not true. We get up really early,
and if we got drunk, there would be no show.
Right, exactly. There'd be nothing on. But we go, we get a coffee, we show up to work early, and we work super hard and almost kill ourselves almost every season to try to get it on the air.
It reminds me of I think Jack Welch tells this story in his book. They were offering Jerry Seinfeld $100 million to go one more year.
Right.
And Seinfeld said, I can't do it. He said, I sat last Christmas Eve in my apartment trying to write a script.
Right.
And I'm saying, I don't want to do this one more Christmas.
Right. And I think that time may come, but it hasn't yet, thank God. So
what is it you think resonates? Is it the edginess? What is it that you think has made a connection with people?
God, I wish I knew. I don't know. I
don't want to intellectualize it either, but I mean.
Well, I think part of it's not just South Park, but there's a few other shows, and we were lucky enough with South Park to hit a level of success early on where we have total control over the show.
Now, you mean things like Daily Show or?
I think it's Daily Show.
Chappelle.
Daily Show's a little bit different. Dave Chappelle's a good example. I think there's other shows that are, and most of them are smaller, kind of more marginal shows that aren't done by committee. I mean, most shows in Hollywood are done by committee,
especially comedy.
Especially comedy. And they're like, it's like a bunch of, it's usually a bunch of people.
And especially movies.
Yeah.
Oh, movies, and they have like 30 writers on the movie, and they focus group it. And it's like, for better or worse, Trey and I have always been like, this is our show, and everything on the show is basically what we want to say. No one tells us, what. And a show by committee might be a better show. But this is ours, and I think there's something
nothing
authentic about it, So
I mean, it's one thing to have teamwork, and teams can do great things.
Right, we have tons of people working for us that add a lot to the show.
Teamwork is great,
absolutely.
But
but at the end of the day, it's sort of got to be a voice, and that's why we've always fancied ourselves more as a band, just because that's a way cooler thing to be
than geeky animators.
So we've always, but it really kind of is because every season comes around, it's kind of like an album, and every episode in that album is a song, and it's like it's fun because since we wrote every episode ourselves and we never got writers and put it out to them, we're able to look back now and go, wow, that's where we were in our lives at that point, and that's where we were in our lives at that point, and see how we've changed.
The Simpsons has probably been through 4, 5, 6
1,000 writers.
1,000 writers. And writing teams and voices, and although there is a few guys who stick around and are at the top, it is the people working on the show today are not the same people who were working on the show 5, 6 years ago, and for a show like that, it has to be that way for us.
Should I feel good that I've been both a character on The Simpsons and a character on South Park?
Yes, absolutely. I think you should be super flattered.
Makes you super cool.
Now, did you once say that you would never go out of ideas because Cartman would need 20 years to explain?
That's a good one. I remember saying that, but it does make sense. It does make sense. Yeah.
I didn't say it, but you'd be proud to say it.
Yeah. It's funny because it's great. We're lucky enough that we've created a show where it's not about a family or a kid. It's about a town,
right?
And in any given episode, we can focus on the teacher, or we can just focus on Cartman. We can just focus on the mailman. We can just focus on whatever we want. And so it really does lend itself very well to say, we can sit down in the writer's room and go, what's going on in the world? Yeah. How do we have that happen in South Park? Because to some degree, I think there's a pressure about, people. It was really cool to be able to do that Terry Schiavo episode, for it to come on the air when it did, when it was happening. And here's an animated version of that. But the hard part that really goes into that is at the end of the day, we do have to come up with what's our take on all this. What's our philosophy on this that's not just what everyone else is talking about.
What's our point of view?
Yeah, what's our point of view? And, our thought in that episode was, well, maybe she really wishes that all these people in the country weren't showing her image like this, and that sort of became the whole crux
when you won the Emmy, that was a big thing for you?
No,
or not so much?
Football was on, so I didn't go.
I just say that. I wish it sounds so like it sounds so
you didn't care,
ungrateful.
Didn't care.
Well, we've been nominated 5 times.
Who did you have pick it up for you?
Our producers.
Our producers.
Who we're very happy for. We're very happy.
We're very happy for them. But Trey and I get tons of accolades for the show, and we've been on. I think we've been nominated 5 times.
Yeah.
And
we always lose at the Simpsons.
We just always lost.
We
should. Simpsons is a great show, but it's like. But what's funny too is that we're put on what they call the crap night of the Emmys, which is really funny because people don't realize. Yeah, a week before the Emmys, there's another Emmys for all the shows that it's just like a lot of technical things. Yeah, and for some reason, Best Animated Series is in that night, which is so ridiculous because The Simpsons is probably the biggest show in American history ever, and it's not on. It's on the crap night.
Yeah, well, I think we ought to be able to change that. Don't you?
I think so. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous.
Maybe we should just have a whole night of prime time devoted to animated.
Yeah, I think
you'd
so.
buy that.
Yeah.
Now, here's what Tony Scott said. Tony writes for the New York Times, reviews movies. He said, "I know I'm not alone in confessing that my moral." I worry about this now. I worry that he says I know I'm not alone in confessing that my moral and ideological guides for the past half dozen years have included 4 foul-mouthed Colorado youngsters made out of torn construction paper. Without South Park, I would scarcely know what to think about issues like stem cell research, the Passion of the Christ, and the Pokemon craze. Right. Now, you are educating America.
Yeah. Yes, we're trying to stay ahead of the New York Times.
It's really what we've always said, and I think what we say with the show is not anything new, but I think it is something that is great to put out there, which is, the people screaming on this side and the people screaming on that side are the same people. And it's okay to be someone in the middle laughing at both of them.
Yes. Yeah, so they'll get their education from you and their news from Jon Stewart.
Right. And they'll be all in all, at the end of the day, they'll be a little more Zen Buddhist. That's all right.
But we can't compete with
we
can't compete with the Jon Stewarts or the Jay. I mean, that's a different. The Jay Leno's, the Bill Maher.
Mass media.
That's a different. Even though it's political and it deals with current events, it's just different. It's just a daily thing. And in the end of the day, those guys all have. Where they're coming from.
Right.
And what we try to do on the show, what's important for like a narrative show where you're trying to tell stories, is we always try to make it feel like, where are those guys coming from? You know what I mean? And a lot of times we'll do shows with moral kind of points of view that we don't necessarily agree with.
It just makes a better story.
It just makes a better story.
The story's got to take precedent.
That's right. It's what'll play.
Right, exactly. I mean, we got to make stories, We can't just make jokes. We got to make stories.
Right.
Do you think you have raised the bar in terms of what is acceptable?
For sure. I mean, it's interesting because we just I think we've lowered the bar.
We did something to the bar, but
it's really funny because it's been an interesting week for us because this week the South Park has gone out on syndication, which was a huge deal for us, obviously. But it's amazing because they're like, well, okay, now it's going out on all these other channels. Let's look at how much they have to cut out. And to watch the first season, they don't cut anything out, and it's on all these, and it's like, they don't have to cut out anything. And when we came out, people were like, oh my God, this is the end of the world.
Don't let your kids watch the show. It's the end. We got one review that it was the end of democracy.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, this was 1998.
Yeah.
So the arrow is definitely going in the direction of us. We're definitely from the future.
You were a threat to democracy.
We threatened it, and here we are.
Everything we built in 1776, you're going to tumble down.
So we'd like to officially
teenagers from Colorado.
I'd like to officially apologize for ending democracy.
That was our fault. Everyone's blaming George Bush.
George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and John Adams and all of those.
It was us.
Yeah, we blew it. It was going great for a while, but we blew it.
If you only do it week to week, I mean, do you have any idea where it might be, a year from now?
No, and that's the fun thing. I mean, that's why we have our first new episode airs on October 19th.
Right.
And as of right now, we have no idea even what that episode will be about. We haven't started it. We're not going to start it.
You're not going to start it until the week before?
We'll start it the week before. Because every time we try to start way before, I can't write, and we get too, thinking too much about it. And we realize, too, that's something that happens is we get too much into what's our point, what are we trying to say? And we realize, wait, that's not our job. Our job is to make people laugh. And if it says something in the background, great. But it's not our job to go out and go.
Right now, we're in an interesting dilemma because we have this reputation for attacking or talking about current events.
Right.
And we've both gotten dozens of emails about, can't wait to see what you guys do about Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah.
And we're in this dilemma because we think that would be we could make a great episode where a flood comes to South Park or, some kind of natural disaster. But being the expectation that we're going to do it puts us in a weird position.
I just want to do something else.
I don't know if we're going to do it. I don't know if we're going to do it. Like we want to mess with the expectation. And like we always loved that we're both big Monty Python fans and watched it on PBS, at 10:30 at night in Colorado growing up on Channel 6. What I loved about Monty Python was every time you tuned in, you no idea where you were going.
Yeah.
And TV today is like, well, are you going to watch tonight? They're going to do this, and that's the way it's promoted. And we've always been like, we always like the South Park episodes where it starts here and then, you have no idea where you ended up. So we're in this weird kind of dilemma about Hurricane Katrina. We don't know what to do.
Have you been that way before at all?
No,
is that the
because
first time
we've
it's
always
ever happened? I mean,
yeah, because it's never been expected. Now it's
if you could deal with Terry Schiavo, you can deal with.
Oh, we could do it. It's just that people are expecting it.
It's just a different
whatever they're
thing.
expecting, you may not be able to reach it because they have such pronounced ideas.
And whatever they're
want you to do.
expecting, we don't want to give them because as soon as you give people what they're expecting, I just think then we're a sitcom.
People were blown away that we did a Terry
We
Schiavo
don't
show.
want to
They
be that,
did.
do we?
No.
Yeah, then we didn't want to do that. But like the fact that everyone's like, I can't wait. They're going to tune in and see what they do about Hurricane Katrina. It's just a different. I don't know. It's a different way to.
Monty Python was both heroic for both of you.
Huge.
Oh yeah. This is the beginning and end of.
Have you seen Spamalot on Broadway? Are you going to?
We haven't. I think we're going to go. Maybe.
I'm a little nervous too.
Yeah.
Well,
because I'm such a huge fan that I'm
you may not want to go.
Yeah,
you may not want to go.
A little worried. It's kind of like someone.
You know it's
messing
going
with
to
your-
Las Vegas.
Yeah, I know. I don't know.
Well, it's you've got to remember Eric created it, so therefore,
Absolutely.
and so the same writing sentiment.
Yes.
is there. Politics. Are you a libertarian?
That's a great question.
What does that mean?
I think that there is a.
He believes in liberty.
Yeah, I believe in liberty.
Are you?
It's possible.
You're not going to put you in jail for this.
Yeah.
It's possible. Maybe.
Yeah, no. We did a South Park
Why
episode.
is he embarrassed by this?
I'm not embarrassed at all. It's just actually it's a difficult question because
Why is it difficult?
Because it's
It's like saying, are you?
It's like, are you gay? It's like a little. On a Friday night, maybe. There's no chick around, sure.
Imagine on Friday.
You know, Charlie.
You know, Charlie. You know how it is.
Friday night. You're a little.
Friday night, what the hell?
Nothing's on TV. I don't know.
It's a really fascinating thing. We've always talked about how we grew up sort of. I think we were both Python fans, and we were both sort of punk rockers.
Right.
And we wanted to do a punk rock TV show. And when we were growing up, the way to be punk rock was to be really liberal, because we grew up with Reagan in high school and all of that, and then we moved. The problem was we moved to L.A. and we did, and then the only way to be punk rock in L.A. is to be a Republican because it's the only way. You're in a party. The only way is to be like, I think George Bush is awesome. Everyone's like, what? Just like, and that really, it's amazing. And when we did Team America,
I've seen Trey do that before too.
Yeah.
You mean go into a party and say,
Just said it.
I think he's great.
That was in Malibu, and he just said, "I love George Bush and I love my gun." And this lady's face just melted. Her
face melted off.
It is like we've got this reputation. There was this book that came out called South Park Conservatives,
right?
Where and it was a label I think originally given by Andrew Sullivan. To the show, and I think there is a little bit of like libertarianism.
Is he your number one fan? There's some great quote about it.
Yeah, he's a big fan, and like he's written some really cool stuff about the show and Team America, the movie. But I think that some of we did grow up in Colorado, which is kind of a Republican state, but it's more of a libertarian kind of like live and let live kind of attitude.
Yeah,
and I'm sure some of that seeps through in the work. But we've taken so many different conservative ideals to task too, but we have just ripped on a couple of liberal ones. Like Barbara Streisand or Rob Reiner, and all of a sudden, like we're conservatives, and it's like to live in L.A., to live in California, those are the sacred cows. Literally and figuratively. Rob Reiner, that was a bad joke.
Oh, it was.
That was a terrible joke. But it is true. Like Trey said, it's like if we sit around in our writers' room and we all sit around and go, and what I think of our best stuff comes out is we try to personify this side of the argument and this side, and then we take a little funny way out.
Right.
And I'm just not interested in Trey can vouch for this. I'm not interested in sitting around and agreeing with people. Right. And where we live is like the liberalist liberal part of the world. And not because
there's a group think.
There's a group think, and you only get to some new truth by argument and by dissent, and it's like some of it is just, we just play devil's advocate all the time.
Yeah.
You know?
Here's what else you said. I am just sick of actors on CNN parroting what they read in the paper. I keep expecting Larry King to say, and now for a word on Iraq, the Cookie Monster.
Yes. It really, well, I mean, and that's when we were writing Team America. And, you know, we were...
Team America?
Team America is a movie we made last year that was all done with marionettes, and it was basically about a world police force, international world police force, that obviously parodied everything that's been going on. And it was so fascinating because we, you know, the whole movie starts where the international police force shows up in Paris and just blows away all of Paris in order to get one terrorist, you know what I mean? And it's basically like... And it was a condemnation of that. But on the other hand, in the middle, it sort of took a turn and started ripping on the liberal, you know, on the actors that, for us, we live in L.A., we know a lot of actors, they're not smart people, right? I mean, and just like we shouldn't be on any TV show discussing what world policy should be, you know.
I was going to ask you to stay to the next segment. We're going to talk about
right.
Iraq and
but, yeah, you know, believe me, you don't want to hear our opinion. It's not very good.
All right, roll tape. Here's a clip from the 2004 movie Team America. Here it is.
This.
All right, let's make this interesting. Kia! You lose. He's getting away with the WMD. I got him. Damn, I missed him. Sarah, he's got the bomb. You got it fixed.
I got him, Carson. He's heading for the Louvre. Your plans are over.
All right, Sarah. Yeah. All right,
Step into it.
All right. Bonjour, everyone. Don't worry. Everything is boom. We stopped the terrorists.
Did you go to school in Columbine?
Did I go to school?
Yeah.
Did you go to school?
You have an education.
What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you? How do you make stuff like this?
Did you go to school?
Did you go to? I mean, did you go to school in Columbine or?
No, I went to. I grew up in Littleton, Colorado, where
Yeah.
Columbine High School is. I went to a different high school. Littleton's not a little town. It's
Do you
a
know
big,
Michael Moore?
I did. I know him a little bit. I talked to him on the phone a couple times, met him a couple times, and then did the interview in Bowling for Columbine.
And what did you make him? A suicide what in the movie?
He was basically a piece of ham. he blows himself up. He blows up the Mount Rushmore, and then we had his whole puppet filled with ham. And we had this great scene that had to get cut later, but they were like, "My God, Michael Moore was made of ham."
So the whole scene didn't make the movie?
No, the scene where he blows himself up did, but just the part where we, said that he's made of ham. Yeah.
Now, how did he like it? Did he?
We hope not.
I don't know.
We hope not,
I
don't you? That's the point, isn't it?
I mean, no, it was really, that was a personal thing for me anyway, because he actually called us when he was making the Bowling for Columbine movie, and he said, I'm making this movie about gun control. Will you make an animated thing for it? And we said, no, sorry, we're busy. I have a gun, actually, so I'm not really interested. But then he said to Matt, he said, well, we're going to interview, we just want to interview about Littleton, ask you about Littleton. And that seemed like a, fine thing. So Matt went and did an interview about Littleton.
And that's all he talked about, Littleton.
No, we talked about a lot of stuff. And I said, he interviewed me and he didn't misrepresent me in the movie at all. I mean, I think it's not like I'm mad about my interview or anything.
Right.
didn't mischaracterize me. But he did do an animation that was surprisingly South Park-like. He had somebody else do an animation. And most people that
So
see
he ripped off South Park.
Well, and what happened was it actually ripped off a film I made when I was in college. That was South Park looking.
It's called
but
American History.
It was called my movie was called American History, and this thing ripped that off, and they put it right after Matt's interview to make it look like we did it.
Oh.
So then everyone started coming up and going, "Hey man, love that thing about glad you hate guns too." And I'm like, I don't hate guns, And it's like, "Hey man, the cool thing you did," and I was just like. And then when people came out and started saying, well, Michael Moore, he's a manipulator and he changes things to make things look some way. I'm like, yeah, I was a personal victim of that. It's totally true. So I made him a fat piece of ham in my movie and I blew him up. Yeah. I'm done. I'm fine. I feel fine now.
It's just a puppet movie.
You got it off your chest and everything's okay.
As far, we're cool.
And it proves a maxim, don't screw around with anybody that has a cartoon.
Yeah, that's right. We'll make you into a ham and blow you up.
Making you into a puppet and blow you up.
Congratulations. Great to have you here.
Thank you very much. It was fun. It's a great time.
South Park. What else should I say about it? That's it.
Yeah, that's great.
That does it.
Yeah, that's perfect.
All right. Good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.